Welcome back, it's me, Lou, and I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today we are looking at something very special, and it's this. G.I. Joe Classified Series, Missile Commander Hawk. Now, this is a very special figure. It is not available at retail. It's actually a custom action figure that I made. So as I've stated in my previous videos where I talk about my custom G.I. Joe classified figures. So like a year ago, back in March or April of 2020, Hasbro gave us the first wave of the G.I. Joe classified figures. And like many fans, I swooped in and got the entire wave. And it just left me wanting more. The figures, they're awesome. It was a dream come true to finally have G.I. Joe figures in the 6-inch scale. You know, for the longest time, we had Star Wars, the Black Series. We had Marvel Legends. You know, they were even giving us Power Rangers in 6-inch form. But, you know, people just wanted G.I. Joes for the longest time, and we finally got our wish. And I think they released larger scale G.I. Joe figures in the past. Like, I want to say, I think, might have been for G.I. Joe Sigma 6. I think they had, like, 7-inch scale figures. But those are very cartoony. But, you know, they gave us the classified series, and they're beautiful. And after I got the first wave, I was like, okay, so what's next? And I was kind of like this twiddling my thumb, waiting for Hasbro to say something. And this was before they gave us the Target exclusives. And I was just itchy. I wanted new figs. And I told myself, you know what? If they're not giving us new figs anytime soon, I'm going to take it upon myself and just make all the characters that I want. And I'm like, you know what? I want a General Hawk. So look, you know, I just said, okay, let's make General Hawk. And here we are. Here's my custom General Hawk action figure. And as I've mentioned before, for me, part of the fun of making custom action figures is that I also like to make custom packaging. Part of the reason is I kind of want to make I want the whole action figure experience. You know, not only do I want the action figure, I want the package also so it feels like and looks like something, you could buy at the store. It's not going to be perfect, it's going to be a little bit rough around the edges, but it does the job. And for me, it's a great display piece because for a lot of these G.I. Joe classified figures, some of them I bought doubles. So I have some still on card, and they're all grouped together, hanging on a wall, and they look beautiful. And after I had the first maybe like 5 or 6 figures just on display and on the cards, I'm like, I really need more figures. So that was one of the kind of key motivating factors for me, just to keep on making more and more of these custom G.I. Joe classified figs. And I'm like, I need General Hawk. I want a Hawk, and here he is. So here's my custom General Hawk figure. And if you have a keen eye, you could tell he's actually placed in the classified Duke tray, because these are Duke's accessories. There's the backpack, the rifle, pistol, and the binoculars. And, I kind of wanted to give up that kind of like iconic look. So I took the original General Hawk card art and I used it in Photoshop and created this image. And I printed it out on some adhesive paper and slapped it on top of I think it was the pre-existing image, which was Duke underneath this. And I even gave him his little title at the bottom. But I didn't want to call him General Hawk. I thought it'd be cool to call him Missile Commander Hawk. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the first appearance of Hawk as an action figure, his rank, I think, or his title was Missile Commander. And I think he came with he came with one of the vehicles, I think. Was it the tank? Maybe it was the tank. I don't remember. But I remember that he was one of the early figures that came out. And his title was Missile Commander. This is before he was listed as General. So for me, that was kind of just a cool callback to, back in the day when I was a kid, Missile Commander Hawk. So yeah, here we have General Hawk, aka Clayton Abernathy. And on the side, more character artwork. I printed out the full-size portrait and just pasted it onto the side of the box. And the rest of the box is stock. Here's that iconic poster image. And let's take a look at the figure. Alright, I'm going to review this figure while it's in the tray, because to be honest, if I had to take this figure out of the tray, it'd be kind of a nightmare to get him back in. So, yeah, here's my General Hawk figure. So with Hawk, one of the key things I really wanted is that he kind of has that fur lining on his coat. And when I make customs, one of my big things with customs is that if I make a custom action figure, I want it to look stock. I want it to feel stock. I want to, like, the less work I do, the better. And if I could pull off a custom without painting it, perfect. If I could pull off a custom without gluing or making any serious modifications like drilling out holes or cutting stuff off, awesome. So in my head, I kind of had to like run through every 6-inch figure that I had either in my collection or I knew existed that I could like kind of like source out and find pieces to make General Hawk. So the first thing was his coat. Okay, I needed some sort of like leather coat, you know, preferably something that looks like a bomber jacket with the fur lining. And then in my head, I remembered, oh, there's that Marvel Legends Vulture figure that was used for the live action movie. I'm like, he's wearing a bomber jacket. He has the fur lining on it. That's perfect. So that solved the problem of the upper torso. So okay, so I'm like, okay, I have an extra Vulture figure. I think I bought it on clearance, and I was going to use that. So I'm like, I'll use the Vulture. And I think the Vulture also worked too, because I believe the color scheme is, not only does he have the leather jacket, but he even has like almost like military olive drab green pants. And I'm like, that's perfect too. He already kind of looks like a military figure, but he had those weird, crazy, like, if you've seen the Marvel Legends Vulture from the Spider-Man movie, he has those crazy like robot legs with like almost like a talons. And like, so I told myself, you know what I could do? I could take the Classified Series Duke, the extra one I have, and I could just use the lower legs, the shins, and you know, swap the lower legs out. And I did, and it seemed to work. And not only that, but alright, so one of the things people were complaining about the Classified series is that they didn't like how there was, on some of the armored pieces, there was that gold and blue colored on it. But for me, that worked out perfectly, just because the Vulture figure itself, there was a lot of gold trim on the zipper, gold belt buckle, gold harnesses, and it just kind of went well with the gold on the Classified Series Duke boot. So it almost looks, you know, since I put them on, it almost looks like a natural fit. Like these boots were almost made to go with this, you know, this body. And I'm like, it's working. It's working. You know, I'll take a, you know, the holster off another G.I. Joe Classified figure, slap it on there, you know. And the last remaining piece of the puzzle was the head. What was I going to do for a head? Now, General Hawk, in the cartoon, he's always one of his big trademarks is he's always wearing that helmet with the goggles on it. One of the options I was considering is that there's that Marvel Legends 2-pack. It comes with Captain America and Agent Carter. And Cap's kind of wearing those. He's kind of wearing his World War II fatigues, and he's actually wearing a helmet that looks like that. But the downside to that figure is that the likeness of the face is very Chris Evans. And it's like, the minute I throw that head onto this body, it just looks like Chris Evans, you know. It doesn't look like General Hawk. You're just going to think, oh, that's just Captain America. So part of me is kind of like, okay, I'll make the sacrifice. I'll lose the helmet, but what could I do to like pass this off as General Hawk? And in my head, I'm like, I need to find a figure, preferably a Marvel Legends head, because it'll probably be to scale with his body. But the features of the face have to convey, you know, for one, he has to look like a leader. He has to look a little bit older, and he just has to have that, you know, this certain presence about him. So I was going through like my bin of extra figure parts, and I came across this head in particular. This is a Marvel Legends Fantastic Four Reed Richards head. And it works because Reed Richards, he kind of has the gray hair on the temples, so he looks a little bit older. He has kind of a little bit more chiseled features, and it just worked. And I'm like, this looks perfect. And the cherry on top of the sundae was, not too long after I made this figure, I want to say it might have been for the mobile game, or maybe for the G.I. Joe website in general. They kind of released an image of the more modern take on General Hawk, and I was so lucky because the actual official Hasbro interpretation of the modern character almost resembled this head. In fact, it almost resembled this figure entirely. So I was like, oh my god, I got really close. So it was a very happy accident, all the way around. And for me, this figure, it just came out perfect. I didn't have to make any crazy modifications. I got to use a stock head, a stock body. Didn't have to paint it. Didn't have to do any heavy modifications. And it just looks like an actual G.I. Joe classified figure. So I was very happy that I finally got to fill out my ranks, and I have General Hawk in my G.I. Joe classified roster. So yeah, that's pretty much it. As you can tell, I'm very excited about this. I've had this for a while, since last April or March. And in terms of my action figures and my customs, it's one of the ones I'm kind of just proud of. Just because I don't know, it filled the gap for that character, and it just looks very stock. And it's, until they give me an official General Hawk, this is a great placeholder. He's going to be proudly displayed on my wall with the rest of my classified collection. So, let's wrap this up. As usual, thank you so much for stopping by and, spending this, last 11 minutes with me as I talked about my custom action figure. Customizing action figures is a very fun thing to do. If you haven't customized or made a custom figure yet, I highly suggest you jump down that rabbit hole and give it a shot. If there's not if there's a character you're very fond of, whether it's a character from a movie or a comic book or a video game, and if it doesn't exist in action figure form, why not take it upon yourself to make a custom figure? It's really cool. It's really rewarding. And it's, something very personal. It's a one-off, and this makes your collection that much more unique. So, once again, my name is Lou. Feel free to drop by anytime, and I will talk to you later. Take care.